This reading of the story of Nabuccus from Collage is dedicated to you, dear Gordon Kearney. From the first day I met you in your bookshop, we were friends for life. We wrote to each other over the years. You were famous for your genuine love of books and writers, and here I use the word famous in the French definition, fameux, which means marvelous, a marvelous person.
The Grolier Book Shop has survived at the edge of Harvard Square for nearly 60 years without selling volumes on how to grow thin, rich, or happy. Louisa Solano keeps it going on the sale of visions, the visions of poets.
I walked into the store when I was 15, started helping the original owner, Gordon Kearney, on Saturdays and after school. Supported myself at other jobs and always came back to help him on weekends. When he died in '73, and I was unemployed and without any money whatsoever, 10 of his customers got together, got a bank loan for me, and I got the store.
We come across one other store like this in my life, and that was a place called Turret Books in London. And that was a long time ago. It's out of business now.
Poetry in this country is largely an art without honor. And it's extraordinary to have a place where one can come and get the books one needs, that sells the books of poets.
Among the heavyweights who have visited the Grolier are Robert Frost, T.S. Eliot, and Marianne Moore.
I just felt that poets deserved a store that represented their interests and their work. And no other place was willing to do it. And since I care about it, it was natural.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The 10 years of Louisa Solano's ownership have been more important to art than to the IRS. Last year, her weekly take-home pay stayed largely in the path of penury.
Between 100 and 150 a week. Now it's about 175, but basically it's minimum. When people find out what I do for a living, a lot of people will tell me, I like poetry, but I don't show it to my friends. It happens all the time. I deal with poets all the time. I think they're average people. They can be any kind, any type, any nationality, be housewives, be professors, be mechanics, be taxi cab drivers, be waitresses. It doesn't matter.
Perhaps John Keats spoke for all the poets when he said, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing."
I have a feeling that this is probably the oldest poetry bookshop in the country. it's just a labor of love. And I think poetry means a lot to many of us, and we're trying to keep the place going. Nobody buys books now. Bookstores are a problem, and especially poetry. But it's really a labor of love. Poetry means a lot, I think. I don't think we've given it enough credit for its healing powers.
Hi, this is Chen Chen. I'm a poet, and I love the Grolier Poetry Book Shop.
Hi, it's Stephanie Burt, and I have been going to the Grolier Poetry Book Shop for really most of my life at this point. I remember meeting Louisa Solano in it in 1989 and purchasing a copy of Lynn Eugenian's My Life. I remember encountering Killarney Clary's first book of prose poems, Who Whispered Near Me, there, and having that blow me away. I remember just going there to browse in the early 90s and again in the early 2010s, and I'm so happy it's there for readings and for events and for used books and for new books and for international books and for domestic books and for everything that we really need all poetry spaces for, and is a gathering place for the next generation.
When I lived for 25 years in Boston, the only serious place to browse and buy poetry was the Grolier, over which Louisa Solano vigilantly presided. And it was the place to hear poetry in those crowded, intimate readings, like sessions of a mystery cult.
Hi, I'm Forrest Gander, and I don't come to Cambridge without going to Grolier's.
The coolest thing that ever happened to me in the Grolier Poetry Book Shop was that I once stood next to the poet John Wieners, who was carrying two big bags that looked like they were full of drafts of poems, and he was looking at a copy of the sonnets of William Shakespeare. That was my second day in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1998.
Grolier Poetry Book Shop, what an extraordinary place you are for treasures of the literary and humankind. Thank you, Mankiti family, James Fraser, Grolier staff for maintaining the breadth and breadth of poetry in the Boston, Cambridge area and beyond it.
There's the Vatican. There's Jerusalem. There's Mecca. And there's a Grolier. There's Paris in the 20s, the Village in the 50s, and there's the Grolier. Then and now. Enough said.
My first venture into the Grolier was some 43 years ago, after I graduated from college, and I began graduate school at Harvard and wanted to be a poet. And I felt that when I had entered that bookstore, I had hit Poetry Central. Over the years, I've thought of Grolier often, and it's been wonderful the last 20 years being back in Boston, wandering into the Grolier with its new manager, and Ifeanyi for many years being such a welcoming presence. It's been a grateful and wonderful presence in my life as a writer for a very long time.
Hi, I'm Peter Gizzi, and I'm really happy to contribute to the celebration of the Grolier. I remember when I was 18 or 19, I remember taking a trip from Pittsfield, where I grew up, to Cambridge to visit this fabled poetry bookstore, and it was great. I found so many cool books that, were essential to me. And but I think maybe the most exciting time, or one of the most exciting times for the Grolier, is happening right now under the stewardship of James Fraser. He's doing remarkable work. We're so lucky to have this new life, this person who's so invested in bringing it back to its full capacity. I mean, the Grolier is a venerable institution for poetry, and particularly for Cambridge. So I'm very grateful for his energy and his belief and his goodwill. And congratulations to the Grolier.
Wanga atira Navayuk. Oiva miurongas likar miuronga. I'm Joan Navayuk Kane, called for my namesake Navayuk, who, along with my ancestors from Owibok, King Island, and Koyuk, Mary's Igloo, Alaska, remind me of the importance of poetry, of language, of community. And I want to talk about how Grolier has anchored my love of poetry ever since I was a teenager, helped me find poetry in life, and through poetry helped me return and bring other poets along with me to King Island, Owibok. And I hope that Grolier continues to help us navigate our way through these times and through the world, through language, with each other, always with poetry in mind. Thanks to Grolier. I love the Grolier.
Hello, everybody. It's Brenda Hillman. I'm so happy to help celebrate the existence of one of the great literary bookstores, the Grolier. I live on the West Coast, so it took me a little while to make it over there, but I was really struck by the magical and intense quality of its interior and the careful selections that Louisa made. And I also appreciated the newsletter of the Grolier and had a few books featured there, and it seemed like a big literary event to have something featured in the newsletter. So let's go on supporting the Grolier and our other independent literary bookstores by buying books in person, and really happy that it exists.
Grolier is this timeless relic that continues to capture hearts and imaginations. And I think that speaks to the enduring need for art in our culture and community.